Hi, good morning, and welcome to the ZP vlog and podcast. We do this vlog and podcast every Sunday at 8 a.m. London time, and it's really just a wrap up of the news from ZP for this week. So I will jump into it, and we've put out quite a lot of educational material, really over the kind of Christmas period or the holiday period, I should say, and as people ask questions, we do respond. So. Um, we put some videos out of cyclovoltammetry and charging current and other differential pulse voltammetry, etc. And one of the feedbacks we got was, could we do a video on the footer wave analysis? And footer wave analysis has become sort of much more because it allows people to kind of analyze kinetics, etc. Of quite complicated mechanisms. Anyway, that said, we started off being quite simple, actually, and just dealing with the Butler-Volmer and the Tafel equation. So we did cover the requests that came in through the video, and we did appreciate people actually asking for this material as well. So thank you very much for watching those YouTube videos, and thank you for giving us the feedback. Something that we did before Christmas, and we were asked to write a kind of quick blog on it. We did participate in a entrepreneurial workshop that got held at Swansea University, and we talked about obviously our own sort of journey on entrepreneurship. And it's fair to say that at ZP we are very interested in actually essentially doing more courses around entrepreneurship. So if you're an entrepreneur and you watch the YouTube videos or you listen to our blogs and podcasts, do reach out to us because we are interested in interacting with the entrepreneurial. Um, sorry, I was just checking that the entrepreneurial community or the entrepreneur community. Some other news from Zimmer Peacock this week. So obviously I think those two blogs alone sort of are a good reflection on ZP because one of them is very scientific and one of them is actually very commercial. And I think that's a good reflection of what we're like at ZP. Some other news from ZP for this week is we do get a lot of inquiries around from people who say, can you detect vitamin A, E, vitamin D3, B1, B2, niacin, pantothenic acid, vitamin B6, vitamin B12, biotin, folate, vitamin C, vitamin K1. And so we just put a little news item out there to say, look, we actually can detect these vitamins. There's people want to detect these vitamins, all sorts of form factors. But one of them is, we have our Sense It All platform. And so if people want to detect these vitamins, they are intrinsically electrochemically active, and therefore, at least doing a proof of principle on those is actually quite straightforward. So vitamins are really not I want to say, a big issue, a big concern for us. Also, something I wanted to touch upon. We obviously do every Sunday 8 a.m. Sorry, every Thursday at 8 a.m. London time. We do our video for our ZP Developer Zone members. This week we had a question about non-enzymatic glucose sensors, which we answered. We had a question about the suitability of our sodium, potassium, chloride, calcium, pH, and lithium sensors for blood analysis. We talked about EZ-Flex and Cottrell equation. We talked about ion selective electrodes and ion selective field effect transistors. We did talk about getting started with garage chemistry, cost benefit analysis, low cost kit for pH, and smarts and Sense Smart as an analyzer, or is it a full blown potentiostat? And we conclude it's really an analyzer. But what I say there is that if people have technical questions on Zimmer Peacock, you will find that we are responsive, and we will make a point of making a video response to this. I suppose in line with that comment earlier on about we've put a lot of educational material out there over the Christmas period. We did put a video out there also about the Randall-Sevick equation. The Randall, if you're cyclovoltammetry, people will talk about this, but it has a peak height that's proportional to the scan rate, which often feels quite counterintuitive. And this kind of relationship is characterized or tied up with the Randall-Sevick equation. So we do sort of try to explain what the Randall-Sevik equation is, but we also have done quite a bit of processing so that you can actually upload that data into Julie, and Julie will actually calculate um, essentially the Randall-Sevik equation for you in Julie. So Julie is very powerful, and it really does speed up the sort of R&D effort of processing data, especially if you're trying to fit to the Randall-Sevik equation. At the same time, when we were doing that work, we were actually uploading some data from biologics. Biologics make a potentiostat, and we were highlighting the fact that actually we were able to process their data in that particular video. Something else that a little news article that we put out there this week was really talking about titration. Titration is a way of taking an active molecule, determining how much concentration there is by adding another molecule, and often getting things like a colorimetric change. Titration is used a lot, for example, in the determination of pH. Well, of course, you can measure pH with a sensor as well. So the comment that we put up on the blogs is, if you're currently in industry and you're doing a titration, we know how laborious those titrations can actually be, and so we demonstrate that our Sense-it-all platform can be used to replace titrations. And so if you are wrapped up in doing titrations in a quality kind of system within industry, then it's definitely worth having a think about replacing it with one of our sensing systems. And I think that that's a fair reflection, actually, because when you look at our last blog that we put out this week, we did put a blog out around Scoville heat units. And it also essentially uses our Sense-it-all platform. So it sort of shows you that name, Sense-it-all, it's a little bit of hyperbole, but it's also a reflection on the fact is at ZP, thanks to the great engineers, the great power of the science that we use, some good vision, we are actually able to detect a lot of molecules and do a lot of and help out industry and the medical and agricultural space an awful lot. So if I was to wrap up this week, what essentially we've been up to this week, it's been pretty busy. I mean, there's been at least 3 videos on educational matters, including foot of wave analysis, uploading biologics data, and also processing biologics data from their potentiostat, looking at the Randall-Sevik equation. Then there's that commercial side to us, starting to talk about doing workshops on entrepreneurialism. So if you are an entrepreneur, please don't hesitate to reach out to us because we'd like those conversations. We want to find out what people's questions are, essentially. We're also obviously always extending our capabilities, and so sort of sensors and biosensors with the detection of vitamins is really of no issue for us. Obviously, if you've got any technical questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Come along to one of our ZP Developer Zone webinars every Thursday, 8 a.m. London time, and we'd be happy to cover it. It also reminds me that we actually have a webinars this Tuesday. We describe them as workshops, so we do have some workshops this Tuesday. They're online only. Now these are paid ones because so they're really intended for sort of. But we have 3-hour workshops, and we are running a 3-hour workshops this Tuesday. And so if you're kind of in industry or in academia and you want to kind of have a much more intense learning experience with ZP, then maybe come along to one of those workshops there. And then as discussed, we have been uploading that data from the biologics. And at the same time, we put out 2 blog articles on replacing titration with sensors and biosensors, and also measuring the Scoville heat unit. So I want to wrap it up for this week. Say thank you very much if you follow our vlog on podcast. If you have any questions of Zimmer Peacock, anyone who comes through, and their questions often make it up to the webinar, and we have no issues in answering and dealing with your questions there. So as always, have a good week. I'll hopefully speak and see some of you on Thursday at our webinar. And otherwise, thank you for listening to the vlog and podcast. Okay, take care.